Back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friends over at R&B Builders, rmb-builders.com. Always look forward to our next conversation with the man. We appreciate him so much, Gordon Mckernan, who is in studio with us. Of course, Gordon, very successful lawyer here in the South, but has made a name here in the sports world with his NIL input. And now we've got about a year to look at the data and kind of talk about it. And welcome him back to the set here, Mr. Gordon Mckernan. Good to see you, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Always.
Always.
Okay, so LSU women's basketball was a big part of your NIL push at the beginning. I believe Alexis Morris was one of the first athletes that you signed.
She was the first.
She was the first. That's right. Now you get to the end of the road. They're the national champs. They had their banquet last night. Can you kind of wrap up this season? Kim Mulkey's second year?
That was just an awful investment. just terrible. I mean, I wish I could do that over again. No, but what a great relationship that developed with the program, with Kim and her players and Jennifer and all of them. They're just first class across the board. Mm-hmm. If you ever heard President Tate talk about him, you understand what I'm talking about. And you see it and you feel it. And just a remarkable story, a remarkable ride. I knew it, and if you meet Kim, you get an understanding that she's just different. Uh-huh. And when I met her that summer before her first season, because she went out, she goes, I don't have time, right? Mm-hmm. I don't have time for Scott and the rest of you to give me money to help my program get to where I need it, because I need it now. Mm-hmm. That's basically what she said. I got to have a locker room, I got to have offices, I got to have this, that. And she goes, I need money from donors to help get me now so I can compete. She wasn't waiting. She ruffled some feathers out there, and she's going to continue to ruffle feathers. Yeah. But just through that conversation, talking with her, I knew that she was going to be successful. And so I said, all right, Coach, I'll help the program. Mm-hmm. But I also want to do some stuff with you. I want to help your players. I want it to be a three legs of the stool, right? You need facilities and program help. You have the players, and then I'd also like to partner with you. So if I can get all that, right, then I'm certainly willing to step in a big way. And she said, well, you're going to have to date me a little while. That's basically what she said. She goes, I don't know much about you. I see a lot about you, but before I'm going to do something with you, I want to understand who you are, and I'm going to look into you and investigate you. I got a lot of people I can talk to. So I had to date her for probably a good part of 8-9 months, right? And before finally she said, all right, I'll sign that contract and do a deal with you.
What's that like? You're usually doing the investigating.
I know. It was interesting, and she did. She would call me and say, look, I talked to so-and-so about you. They like you. They say you're a good person. And kept doing. Then we'd have more meals, and we'd talk, and we'd be on the phone. And I think she could see that I really was supporting her program, right? And I was helping players and getting involved in Fast Break Club and all these other things. And, through time, went over. I had that contract on her desk for probably 3-4 months,
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And she'd sit there, and, I had to work the system because there's some unnamed forces out there probably that don't want me partnering with LSU, some other law firms maybe,
sure.
Right? And so there was a lot of things to navigate, but so thankful that it happened, and then capped off last night by that banquet. Wonderful event. The place was packed.
Yeah.
I mean, my son John Gordon's at the table, and Mark Field, who's the LSU team doctor, and they were like, I think this is bigger than when LSU won the National Football Championship. I mean, it was that type of feeling, that type of energy, remarkable. No parking spaces to park in. It was top notch.
You have turned into a content creator yourself. You're putting out content, which is really cool. Our friend,
I try to.
You're doing a great job.
I got some really talented people.
You got good people. Taylor,
Taylor, and some others that make me look more interesting and better than my life is. They do that.
A couple things on that. What made you get into that space, into the content creating space? And I want to talk to you about some of the content.
Yeah, well, I like to be out there. I like to be in all spaces and have people think of me no matter where they are. And you can see that social media is like the billboards of tomorrow, or the billboards of today now in a certain way to this younger generation. And just kept watching it, and we kept fiddle-faddling with it, couldn't really figure it out. And then we've got the right people on board. My daughter Meredith kind of heads it up with Taylor, and finding Taylor was just a blessing to us. And when you get talented people and they come together, we're having some fun with it. And I'm surprised just how little this generation under 30 does anything but look at social media. I mean, no newspaper, no news,
no radio.
Just anything like that. It's just so going into that space was something that was necessary, and we just hired a full-time editor. So my marketing department is growing leaps and bounds because of all the stuff we have to do in the digital world now.
Yeah. And then the content that you're putting out, I love the sit downs with the athletes.
Oh yeah. That was that's something more old school, right? Something I came up with and said like I'll just go to different restaurants and call it Grubbing with G and talk to them, right? And I noticed this week, at least they tell me, and I saw some things come across it. All the stuff that happened with Angel, my video with her, the Grubbing with G with her from a couple months back, popped back up because I guess people are out there searching her. And they come across the interview, and then in there we talk about trash talking, and in there we talk about some of the things that appeared in the championship game. So I think people were going back to it and citing that article, and so it ended up being a real good thing, and we're going to keep doing it. It's not the easiest thing to do to put one of those together, but I do enjoy it. I do like talking to the athletes.
So now that you have this amount of time to kind of look at the data, and you've had every sport, you've had pretty much every university in the state. Right. What do you make of your investment here?
Sometimes it's hard to figure out what pays off and what doesn't, but we're having a record year. We had a record year last year, and something we're doing seems to be right. I got to believe that all this NIL exposure is playing a part in that, right? We're trending up in a lot of areas. We're, I think, top of mind and front of mind for a lot of younger demographic, and I think that's largely attributable to NIL. I probably at the banquet had 10 people come up last night and just thank me. I'm like, just thank you for doing what you're doing. So I think that resonates deeply with people who are faithful to their school.
John Bro, thank you, Gordon, for all you're doing for LSU and NIL. Bob 2.4, I didn't realize there were any other lawyers or law firms in Baton Rouge, just Gordon. Andrew Messina says, surely Gordon gets a national championship ring, right?
You got to negotiate with Kim again.
There were some mumblings last night maybe about a special edition shoe with part of the net on it or something like that. There was just some murmuring. So I was like, ooh, I got my first pair of Jordans about a week ago. First pair? I had a pair of Jordans back in college. In 86 or 87, I was in college, played a lot of basketball. Sure. And the Jordans came out, and I wore them then. I hadn't had them since back in the day. But a lawyer in my office, Jeff Watson, just says, "Oh, thank you, gift." So and he has 68 pair of Jordans. I mean, what 48-year-old lawyer has 68 pair of Jordans? He's an idiot. But
great endorsement for you there.
So he gave them to me last week.
Give him a call.
Yeah, he gave them to me last week when we were going out to the PMAC for the day after they came home with the victory at noon. Yeah. And apparently you can't crease Jordans.
That's right. That's the big thing.
I mean, so the front part of the shoe has to stay intact. Well, if you walk normal, you're going to crease them.
Curl your toes.
So I walked all the way up. Taylor saw it. There's lots of video. It's like a penguin walk or something. I got a corn pop up my and I'm just waddling through the whole way, and literally people are going, asking, what's wrong with him? He's like, he ain't creasing his Jordans. So I'm gonna try to get a second pair made, so maybe I can crease those a little bit and walk normal and keep the other ones kind of in their box and stuff like that.
Right. I remember when this all first started, and it feels like it's been so long ago, yet it hasn't been that long ago from a calendar standpoint. But it was a lot of the feeling, and I know that you were urging a lot of people around you to jump in, support. I know I'm kind of captaining this thing.
Right.
How has the pickup been from over the last year?
I think with Bayou Traditions coming online, and there's talk of Taft taking that, I think it's going to get to a better spot. There's some bigger donors that are helping out. I don't understand the disconnect. It seems like the mom and pop businesses could be doing more, and maybe they think it's too complicated, too expensive, all that to boost their business. I don't understand that. Certainly would expect to see a little bit, just the everyday little things. It doesn't cost a lot of money. Bring someone in, prop up your brand, get your brand known a little better. I think I just think people are unsure how to do it.
Yeah. Have you turned into more of an educator in this space?
In some degree, yeah. I mean, anybody wants to call, the number, it's out there, good, but happy to help, happy to share my documents and things that we have and give any advice, because I want these student athletes to receive their due. I want them to have opportunities at the same time. I do think you can help your business, especially if you have a local hero from your hometown. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. All of this started for the love of LSU. It's kind of blossomed to the love of Louisiana from the
it's
the
a very protectionary thing. And it started kind of. I go back to a Saban quote years ago, but he's the one that kind of really pinged it for me. Basically when he came here, if you remember, he said, "Look, I just want to put a wall up around Louisiana. These other schools shouldn't be coming here and taking our players.
Right.
If we can keep our kids here and go get a few in Texas and Mississippi, wherever, we're good."
Right.
And so the same thing. We got to put up a wall around our players and not let these other schools come in. And when that other school was coming in trying to get Kayshawn, kind of was very protectionary. No, that's not going to happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you envision, because you've supported LSU Athletics for a long time,
Yeah.
your dad was a huge supporter of LSU Athletics, you've seen a lot of the history of it. Did you ever envision a time where they could be as dominant as it feels like they are right now, where the baseball team's number one, football team's maybe the hottest brand in the country, basketball women's are national champs, track's 1 and 2 in the country? It feels like now that Woodward is in there and paying attention to it and watering it every day.
Yep.
That this is what
I saw Scott's parents last night. My mom and dad were really close to them, and I just looked at Dr. Woodward and said, "Your boy did well." I mean, you think about it. I mean, the things he's touching, right, are turning to gold. They really are, and I think that's largely attributable to him. You look at his history; he just seems to have an eye for identifying talent. And the other thing is people don't realize, Scott knows how to identify money. He knows how to find money for his athletic program, right? I mean, the things he's doing with the legislature, the things he's doing with the partnership deals, with, things like that. There were so many things like that in the ideas, because he understands if you're going to go get top talent, you got to pay for it, right? You got to pay for Coach Mulkey. You got to pay for BK. You got to pay for him. When Jay does what he's going to do, you got to pay for him.
Right.
All these things that go up, they take money. So he knows how to find money. I mean, think about this partnership with the lake. Think about just so many things that people aren't aware of, that he's bringing money into the program.
What's next for you?
In terms of this space, or just
this space.
I'm excited to see what Bayou Traditions is going to do. So I'm a part of that, right? And supporting that.
So what is Bayou Traditions?
Bayou Traditions is now I would call it the LSU collective, the fan base collective, where you can go online or reach out to them, and you can support different programs at different levels, right? It's kind of trying to get the everyday mom and pop into supporting. You can't pick a specific player. You can do a sport, things like that. The money goes there. They have it, and then they can distribute it to the football players or the basketball players, the baseballs. So it's just a way to get everybody involved. There's also the old Go Collective, which is part of it, kind of more of a bigger donor side of it. And they have it set up and structured a little different. But now that that's there, I'm hopeful that I can recede a little bit into the background. I'm still going to be very involved and probably try to be more selective and maybe not have 15 to 20 players at times. But the 5 or 6 I have are going to be the 5 or 6 that are making a difference on the weekend, right? So Perkins and Mason and Mason Taylor. I mean,
Angel Reese.
Yeah, that's just narrow it a little bit, because it's a lot to keep up with, and it really is. And speaking of Angel, I don't really know if people really understand how she's transcending sport around the country, because I'm aware of some of the deals and offerings that she has, and let me tell you, Bayou Barbie is a brand.
I bet.
A brand.
I bet.
Yeah, I mean, it's
probably makes more sense for her to stay in school than go to pro.
Yeah, you think? She'll make much more money right now for the next couple of years staying here. Yeah, but she's a powerhouse and a really just a sweet, not near as outgoing when you're sitting here talking, just kind of low key.
Right. I'm sorry if you don't want this story on air, but I overheard you telling it in the baseball suite about Paul Skeens and some of the conversations that you had with him, and just how serious he is about getting to the next level, how you approached him and just said, "I like what you're doing. Can we talk?" And can we tell that here?
Yeah,
okay?
great young man. I mean, he is full of character, very intentional. What you'd want your son to be, just a fine, upstanding young man. And we talked and had several meetings, but really at the end of the day, it was, I don't know. We don't make him do that much. Because I want it all in, all baseball. I mean, he has an opportunity to be number 1, number 2, 3, depending if they want a pitcher or hitter. It's probably Dylan or him, right? And was just very sincere, very thankful for the opportunity. we just couldn't put it together. He and both Dylan. The baseball guys are a little bit different. They probably come from a little better background in terms of socioeconomic status. Didn't need it, but the cute story about Paul. I was talking with Trey Morgan one time, and we're talking about differences. You know, when you watch people, who do you go watch? You know, well, when Dylan's taking BP, we watch him. I said, well, what about Skeens? Does he really throw that hard? He goes, you know, I heard about this guy and how he could throw so hard. And I'm like, I'm gonna hit him. And he said, first time I got up there, like, I ain't hitting him. he's like until you see it, you think you can hit it, but you can't hit it. You know, right. It's just he just said he's different, right? Kind of like when we watch Dylan take bat practice, he's different. When we watch, you know, Paul throw, he's different. Right? Isn't that interesting?
It is.
Yeah. To me, it's just a talent like that will be play in the major leagues. Just looks at that guy, goes, he's different.
That's great.
Real shame they're all on the same team.
Different in our market for sure is Gordon Mckernan. You see him all over the place, and I think this has been great for you. I've talked to so many people that feel like they've gotten to know you through this process. I think you've been a billboard for a lot of people. Yeah. You know, and now you've become someone that they know. I didn't know you ate your green eggs on St. Patrick's Day. Man, I didn't know that.
That's a long old tradition.
Right.
I've heard the Irish.
Grubbing with G. It's a great little piece of content that you can find on Gordon McKernan's Instagram, all over his social media, everywhere, YouTube. He's been a great supporter of ours as we have launched this, and he is huge within the NIL space. It's great to see you.
Good seeing you, man.
As always. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show right after this.